I think naturally I'm an optimist, and I think that musically I try to be an optimist if there's a way to do that. I mean,
Mm.
not every I mean, we've got a lot of songs I've written in the past which are very joyful. You know,
Yeah.
this time around, you know, they just weren't.
Right.
But I mean, the story. I should amend that by saying the subject matter isn't, but you know, the hope to come out of these things. I think that's important, and I think.
Dystopia tonight. Dystopia tonight.
Hey.
Hi guys.
What's going on, man?
Pleasure.
I love the intro. I haven't seen that until now.
Oh, thank you.
I love the Trump and Biden bongo man.
It just
favorite.
Yeah, it's really like it's one of the things that makes me happy. Very few things that I see Trump in makes me happy, but that one I must have watched. I think I snapped at a certain point, and then when that came about, I was like just like a little kid, like just
That's
happy.
Right. Just watched it endlessly, and whoever did it should sell it as an NFT at some point.
Oh my god! Right? We should sell. Actually, we should stop this episode and make an NFT right now, and we will never have to work again. That would be amazing. Yeah, it was we're gonna make it. I think we're gonna compile some new stuff for the intro after the holidays, but I kind of want to keep it in that same vein of just random shit. Like, I'm never getting rid of the oddly knockoff
Godzilla
and I don't even think that's a real Godzilla movie. I think somebody just like made that like adjacent to it, and they were like, it'll work.
Yeah, the guy yelling at the end on the porch is great too.
That man is my hero, and we don't know who he is.
I'm trying to find him. If a listener knows who he is, please let us know. We'd like to have him on the show.
Come on, do your research. Yeah, did you see that video when the Capitol riots were happening?
When the
Capitol riots were happening?
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah. That was that dude used his front porch as a real life Twitter, and I was like, it's amazing.
Was he that was taken on the day of the
Capitol riots? Yeah, they were. People were like, you know, I think from what I understood from that video, and it was only a short video, it looked like he could see them, like people marching and like coming in,
like on their way there.
Yeah, and he was just, you know, he had some shit to say, and I was just like, I love you, sir.
I think I have the original video still.
Oh, do you really? Oh, can we toss it up?
Yeah, go ahead. We'll give it a shot one time.
Yeah, one more.
Get the fuck out of town! Fucking treasonous pieces of shit!
I know! They really destroying our city!
They're destroying the fucking city, and it's like nobody gives a shit! If that was Black Lives Matter, they've had tanks rolling down Pennsylvania Avenue. But these fucking crackers take over the goddamn Capitol!
That's true.
What the fuck is that?
It makes me teary-eyed. I'm just
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly.
Back and forth between.
He's just waving his camera phone back and forth, catching real life.
I admire people who can see a moment coming and they're just like, "This is gonna be a thing," and then they immediately do it.
That's right.
I'm always like 5 minutes behind, where I'm like, that would have been great if I had been present. That. Yeah, been present and aware enough as a human. Oh man. So how have you been? I know I love the album, by the way. I got to listen to it. John had sent it over to me, and it's beautiful, man. And also, real quick, I want to talk about the video too, because that's not out yet. But I also
comes out Monday.
Yeah, it comes out Monday.
In a couple of days from now, but obviously this is going to be later on. But yeah, on the 13th, I guess, of
Yeah.
December.
Yes.
And it's These Arms is the video.
These Arms Will Let You Go. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first song that's on the album. And we had put it out as a single a couple weeks ago, and so the video is now coming out in a couple days, which I'm excited about.
Awesome. And the really cool thing about it, I mean, it's a beautiful song, but your kids are in the video with you.
Yeah, well, they are the video.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't initially intend or desire to use home movies as this video. I just was spent quite a bit of time over a few week period trying to source other people's home movies and trying to make something out of that where I could keep my kids hidden and use someone else's to convey the same thing. But I couldn't really find anything that had that sort of chronological progression where you could see sort of the kids growing up.
Right.
There was a video that I did find, which is a time lapse video of this guy's kids growing up from 0 to age 20.
Wow.
And you've seen those sort of face morphing videos. It's like that, but it's basically like he took like a few seconds each week of each kid, same backdrop for 20 years.
That's commitment.
Yeah.
Well, he's a visual artist.
Oh.
So his name is you can check him out. His name is Franz Hoffmeister. He's on YouTube. He's had like 8 million hits of these couple of videos. And so I wrote to him and I said, "Can I use this?" I put my music to it and I sent it to him and I said, "Look how wonderful this is. You must," because it really did. It did what I wanted it to do.
Right.
It did. It just spoke to me. See, and his kids are gorgeous kids too.
Yeah.
But, he said, respectfully, no.
Right.
And I was running out of time. So I basically thought, you know what, I'm going to have to. And then I figured I'd go through my personal footage and I'll just cut their faces out somehow. I'll just do it really quick edits, really sort of like weird angles. I'll crop it weird. I'll morph and kind of add some effects that. Now, granted, it was hard to keep their faces out of completely.
Right.
And I suppose in the end, it doesn't really matter. They're out there anyway.
Right.
Not by way of me.
Right.
They're out there on their own. So I asked them if this was okay. I got their permission.
That was my next question. I was going to ask if you were like, "I'm your father."
I was okay with it, and
Nice.
and then we spent some time putting it together. So it was a labor of love, but it didn't come out. It didn't come without some heavy lifting at times.
Yeah. Was going through that footage though? Do you think it added I mean, obviously they're your kids and it's a personal thing in that respect too, but do you think it just meant more to you afterward? Like, do you think were you like, "Oh, I'm so glad I didn't use somebody else's because now it's like 10 times more"?
Well, now that you mention it,
You're like, now that you've awkwardly put me into a position where I can't say.
I thought more about, will people react or respond or be sort of, will there be an emotional response from people who see this because it's my kids? Is sort of how I was thinking.
Sure.
But yeah, for me, it seemed to, when I was trying to sell it to my kids, I told them what I sort of put myself through in trying to avoid using footage of them, and said that, look, I think it makes sense. Like, the song is about you guys. It is inspired by, our relationship, and it does make sense that you would be in this video.
Yeah.
And I went this whole diatribe and sent it to them in a text, and like it went on for and they just went back, yeah, sure, whatever. It's really that simple. I got a yes, and thankfully, so I was able to do it, and I'm pleased. Yeah, I'm pleased with it.
Yeah. One of the things I love, by the way, the opening shot immediately. I don't know if it's, for me, openings of anything for some reason always are the hardest. Like, even like to this day, going out on stage, it's like, what do you have to say? What are you going to say in the beginning? I hate it.
Right.
I love starting something in the middle, because you're already, you know what I mean? Like, that feeling where you're just like, oh, I've already been talking, so it's great.
Right.
But I thought that was the perfect video when I don't know, you toss one of your kids up in the air, because one, it was like, oh my God, I remember every uncle, my dad, that was like a thing. I don't know if anybody does it anymore, because we're all a little like oversensitive about shit, but getting tossed in the air when you're a kid is the biggest joy,
Right.
by an adult. And it was boom, that's how you started it off, and that was perfect. Did you know that's what you wanted to start with, like get the same vibe?
A little funny because that's the only shot that isn't my kids.
Oh, no way.
That was awesome.
I didn't have a shot like that. I didn't own a GoPro when my kids were that young, but I was like, in the course of looking for footage, I came upon this and I sort of filed it away.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to try and use this if I can, because it's a cool shot. And it's actually, you said uncle, it is someone's uncle.
Ah, that's great.
Uncle so-and-so throwing me in the air when I was 1.
Wow. Well, that's great editing then, because that's like, you got like the editor's mind there too, because the fact that you stored that away and you were like, I'm going to have to use this at some point.
Yeah. Well, I kept everything that I grabbed, everything, because I didn't know what I was going to do.
Right.
Anyway.
That's awesome, dude. Well, I can't wait. That comes out on Monday, and we'll blast it out and share it everywhere too. It's such a great song.
Thank you.
What was it? I mean, obviously you went through a lot. We all went through a lot during the pandemic and stuff, and this album came out of it. Do you feel like this? Do you think it was a struggle making this, or was it cathartic making it? Like, what was the impetus to do it in the first place?
I'd started working on it before the pandemic, and I was going to. My plan was to, write and record an album in 2020 and release it hopefully in 2020. And I started in the fall of 19. And like the first thing I wrote was a song called Chase the Moon, which happened to be about the impending apocalypse. I mean, it was
so it's your fault.
Yeah, it's all. It happened to be somewhat dystopic in nature, just because it was derived from something I'd seen, or it was derived actually from when Trump was trolling Greta Thunberg on Twitter.
Ooh,
and I was thinking to myself, like, this is the guy in charge.
Yeah,
he's put in charge of everything, and then all the sort of the concerns about climate change more and more over the years and all of that.
Right.
I just felt like if this guy remains in charge, we're gonna have a fucking problem. And so that song came out of that, and then the pandemic hit. So I was always sort of in that mood a little bit.
Sure.
I was always sort of in a mood like shit's not good right now.
Yeah.
Then the pandemic hit, and I, like I'm sure so many other people, fell into a major funk, like a major sort of like, this is horrible. What's like, this just seems as dismal as anything I've ever experienced in my life. And I really felt myself sinking into this emotional kind of shitty place. And so, as time wore on, certain people in my midst, certain friends, family members who were having hard times, coping throughout, and all the other shit that was sort of going on in the world at the same time. Again, climate change, George Floyd, all of the just really dark, crazy shit that was happening around us.
Never stopped.
No, and not at all. And although I feel somehow it's, and I'll touch on this. I wanted there to be somehow in all of that. I wanted there to feel like there was sort of a light somewhere at the end. So as shitty as I felt, and as sort of dreary as some of the stuff that I was thinking about and writing about, I still felt optimistic somehow that this will end. And I had to try and be that guy for a lot of people, you know.
Yeah.
And my kids certainly, and you know, other people around me. I had to be that guy. So yeah, I was in a deep dark place, but I had this to keep me busy, to keep me creative, and to
Nice.
keep me focused, and you know, so there was a very positive element to it, in spite of the conditions under which I was doing it.
Yeah.
I would say it was very cathartic, and you know, it helped me get through it for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I I feel like everybody kind of found something to a certain extent to get them through, especially artists. You know what I mean? Like I think I was surprised at the turnaround. You know what I mean? And from everybody that I've talked to, is like, in spite of going through this like completely batshit insane experience that we all had to go through at the same time,
Right.
it was like waves of realizing, you know, I'm not the only one going through it. Everybody's going through it, which was somewhat comforting, by the way. I don't know why misery loves company, but like as soon as you find out everyone else also can't get out of bed, you're like, hey, it's kind of
Yeah,
comforting.
it can help you to make it can help you to make it can help to make you feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately it's, you know, it's fleeting, you
Yeah.
know. And other people's sadness just begets more sadness for
Yeah.
you, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, it totally does. And then there was like, but you know, there were like odd silver linings, I think, throughout the whole thing too. And it was always, you know, either finding a new creative path to go through, or just in general, like knowing you could survive something, you know, this thing. Like, you know, I mean, watching I guess in you know, in comedy or whatever like that too, but like, you know, just businesses not really or comedy clubs or whatever kind of you know, not survive without us for some reason. Like, you know, some of them you really fell for because they've been around forever. But at the
Right.
same time, you were like, holy shit, like all this time it was kind of a flip situation where you were like, oh, we really need them. And then you're like, oh no, shit, they can't make it without the art. They can't make it
Right.
without the people.
Right.
And that's us. And then so it was kind of a weird thing where I was like, you know, they're just buildings and they're just people who rent them out. And without the talent to keep it moving, from, because you know, everybody went online and tried to do different stuff. I mean, I didn't really like Zoom shows that much. I did them.
Yeah.
But did you find that was kind of like, you know, did you do a lot of like the online stuff? Did you find new ways to reach out and connect during the time?
I did a little bit of that. I mean, I tend to be pretty shy, so I don't. I mean, I like a stage,
Yeah.
probably like you. You know, I like a
Yeah.
stage. I'm comfortable on a stage. I'm otherwise comfortable in a studio, and I'm comfortable in collaboration with other people, but not
Mhm.
necessarily. Excuse me, in a room by myself on a monitor. In that context, it's kind of somehow, I don't know why. It just, I'm not entirely comfortable with it. I
It's a
don't know.
weird adjustment.
I beg your pardon? It's an adjustment.
It's a weird adjustment. I mean, there's no way around it. Like, it was like we were all learning how to ride a bike again.
Right.
Uh, a bike without a wheel, you know, with one wheel and a pedal, and you're just like, is this supposed to be this way? And everyone's like, yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were talking about social media before, and
Yeah.
not really that uh, engaged, you know, perhaps as much as I should be in what I'm doing, but going on there. I mean, I've put up stuff, you know, that I've taped, you know, that I've
Mhm.
looked through and gone, okay, I'm fine with all.
Sure.
Not anything live. I think that's another thing that I haven't tried that I probably should.
Yeah,
But
even now, I mean, like, people seem to have stuck with it to some extent. So, you know what I mean? Like, none of the stuff kind of went. It's the same thing with like restaurants. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like any of them decided, you know, we don't need outdoor seating. Now they're just like, you can sit outside, you can sit inside, you can sit on the fucking roof. We don't care. We'll serve you anywhere at this point. You know? No, like they just kind of like left everything, and I feel like to a certain extent that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, it's there's been a lot of changes and a lot of things we've had to adapt to, and you know, hopefully, you know, we sort of start to make our way back towards some sense of normalcy. But at the same time, like you say, there's been lots of silver linings that come out of it. I have a hard time saying that with all the fucking people who died.
Oh, terrible! I was just thinking about the new Kit Kats that came out. Like that was less than anything. I've no.
I mean,
Did you see the new flavors?
You have to try and put things into perspective a little bit and get on with it. I mean, there's a long road to hoe.
Yeah. Did it change the way you wrote at all? Do you think? Like, do you think being kind of in a lockdown state and absorbing, some of the news and social media, whatever it might be out there at the time, did it kind of change the way you focused on your art, your material and stuff?
I think it certainly changed what I wrote about.
Sure.
I don't know if it, changed much about, how I write or when I choose to write, which is all pretty random.
Oh, that's cool.
I think that, Kurt Smith said this the other day. Tears for Fears said, where he said something like, "You shouldn't be a songwriter if you haven't found something in the last, 3 or 4 years to write about."
Oh yeah.
So there's been a lot to chew on, certainly, and unfortunately, from my perspective, there's been the bigger issues are not good ones, and I guess that's why they're called issues. I mean, they're issues. They've been where my focus has been. I mean, insurrection. I'm Canadian, but that's still something that like completely transfixed me, and that I've been totally astonished by. Every time I see any footage of that. So I wrote about that for the record. Obviously, climate change and the impacts that we've been seeing in the last couple of years, certainly the last year. I wrote about that. So it's sort of a composite of reflections, the highlights of a low period in time.
Yeah, and it's not easy to do. I mean, the album that you came out with about that kind of stuff though is pretty uplifting, I think. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you did you have to work harder to make it uplifting, or is that your natural outlook?
I think naturally I'm an optimist, and I think that musically I try to be an optimist if there's a way to do that. I mean, not every I mean, I've got a lot of songs I've written in the past which are very joyful.
Yeah.
This time around, they just weren't.
Right.
But I mean, the story. I should amend that by saying the subject matter isn't, but the hope to come out of these things. I think that's important, and I think
absolutely
that I keep coming back to, and and then I'm grateful as you've pointed out that you can hear that there's an optimism in there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, the funny thing is too is like I feel like that's not something people often write about necessarily, like, because I don't know, like in the way 60s and 70s, sometimes if you listen to the music or the lyrics necessarily is usually depressing as fuck, right? Like you just have the lyrics to one of those songs, but they always had this upbeat swing to it where you didn't even know. You know what I mean? Like, Don't Fear the Reaper is super catchy. But the lyrics of that song are like definitely about suicide. So, but at least in this sense, you know what I mean? Like you're writing about serious topics, but there is that upside, and you can tell completely. So I feel like I like that you didn't try to really hide what you were saying. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, I'm conscious of that. I want the songs to have a certain spark to them, even if even if they're using minor chords. I want there to be some sort of element of like. I mean, I want people to want to listen to the songs again.
Sure.
If they're truly miserable, then no one's going to want to do that.
Have you gone back out to do any live gigs yet, or how are you feeling about going back out there yet?
I don't really know what the climate is for that yet. I mean,
sure.
Certainly there are venues here in Toronto that I would consider playing at, but I don't even know. I think some of them have closed down. I don't know if some of them are operating. I haven't really even looked into it.
Right.
I would like to do something. I don't know. And now the Omicron is sort of becoming a little bit more of a concern, and numbers are going up here. And
such a villainous name. You said that, and I got chills. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, new Avengers level threat. But yeah, it is so weird that they keep
come up with such an intimidating name for it. You know,
I don't either, because it would be one thing if it worked, but the fact that everyone immediately laughs at whatever name they come out with, like the more terrifying the name is, they're just like, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So in any case, it's hard to say. I don't know. I've talked to a few people about doing something, and maybe in the new year, but so far not. No.
Gotcha. Well, that'll be fun though. By the time you're ready to go out there, like, because I can tell you, like, you know, majority of the shows I do so far anyway, have been like, I've asked for people to be vaxxed and all that other stuff. So I'm pretty safe with that kind of thing. But the audiences just seem to be really on fire, like really engaged. You know what I mean? Like more so than they were before, because they're just happy to be out. So it's almost like cheating, because you're just like, they're already pumped. You know what I mean? Like nobody has to like.
Look, they're happy to see you. They're happy that you're there doing what you do. I mean,
and no one's really like, you know, you don't have to have anybody like rallying, because they're already like, people, we're outside. You know, like everyone's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So you'll probably, I mean, it'll be great once you finally kick it and get back out there.
I just did a large scale event that had so many people at it, but everybody that came in the building you had to wear a mask in, show your vax cards. Everybody went to a second level to get in, and then they still kept the masks rule in effect, just because there were so many people in the area. So if you weren't eating or drinking, you kept it on. It was good, man. I feel like, you know, it felt, at least it gave you the sense of feeling secure that at least everybody was checked, and, you know, all the way through.
Well, I went to see Feist. You know,
love Feist.
Yeah, I went to see her. She was here a few weeks ago, and I thought the protocols were fine, and I felt very safe in there, and it was very intimate. It was only
nice
100 people, and no, I'm not so concerned about like you know, people. I just want people to be comfortable, and I would like myself to be comfortable. I think I'd be okay. I just don't know what venues are doing here. I don't know really like how it's all working. It's just been a while since I've kind of been out there in that regard. So
I
haven't really dove into that.
It is interesting that the only kind of places that I like, the equivalent of a theater that's asking people to check their vax cards and wear masks, is like New Zealand. Like that's the only place. It's the only place I wouldn't mind just, you know, hunkering down for a bit. Also, their president's hot. So I feel like not bad, right? You can't go wrong there. She seems super smart, and also, you know.
Yeah, she does seem pretty smart. Didn't they have they had no cases before anybody else at one point?
Who would have thought? New Zealand of all places. And now people are like billionaires are like trying to live there, and I'm like, guys, come on, give me a break. You have space. Go to space. Go to space in your dick rockets and just leave us be. Is there did you get any kind of you know, I went back and forth through this a little bit, but like did it bum you out to not be live? Are you one of those artists or people that need to be in front of people?
No.
I know you said you were shy, but I don't know about the stage kind of a thing.
No, I mean, I like playing. Well, I haven't done a lot of it in the last handful of years. You know, like I don't know what you know about my full history, but I took a bunch of years off from music altogether.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I started making music professionally and sort of pursuing it professionally again about 5 years ago.
Right.
After not doing it for like 12
That's
years.
still a long time to, like, you know, even 5 years though, like 5 years up and then hitting the pandemic, like it's still, it's got to be a blow, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I had played, I did kind of like a bigger show to release a record that I was putting out a few years ago. And that was a great experience. I loved it.
Nice.
And, but then I sort of thought when I do it, if and when I do it again, I'll do it differently.
Sweet.
I'll do it with just me and a piano, or I'll do it with just me and like maybe a trio, or maybe I'll have, you know, a 7-piece. I knew I didn't want to do it that way again. And then it wasn't long after that, the pandemic hit, like,
yeah.
You know, and, so it just kind of went that way. I do like it when I'm doing it, but I can't say that I've been missing it.
Sure. Yeah, I went through periods where I was like, I'm fine. I could use the vacation. You know, I could use the hi from New Zealand.
Hey, we have somebody checking in from New Zealand. How are you?
That's incredible. Can
That
we
isn't
come
common.
and live with you? All three of us. That would be great.
That's fun, right? That's a random talk about New Zealand. We just happen to have somebody in the audience.
That was really random, and I enjoy that a lot. We have another dude from I think the Netherlands that watches all the time too. Yeah, it's pretty great.
He might have heard of Franz Hoffmeister then. That's where he's from.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I wonder if Polly's in here. Usually he watches like every episode, which is great. So what was, so you mentioned the piano and stuff like that. Do you remember when you were younger, like what was the thing that made you want to be a musician? Did you always want to be a musician?
I knew from an early age that I liked playing music in front of people. Which, so ironically, I don't do that as much these days. But initially, I'd say I was about 11 years old, and I had taken a few guitar lessons, more than anybody else at my age at that point. I got up in front of a bunch of my schoolmates and my teachers, and there was some sort of talent show or something, and I just basically got up there and I strummed a Beatles song. And like an early Beatles song too, like not a complicated one,
right?
and not well, no singing.
You're like, actually, it was Mary Had a Little Lamb, but it doesn't matter. It was,
it had to have been not interesting at all. But everyone erupted when I finished. Wow. Everyone went crazy, and I thought, I like that reaction.
Yeah.
So, I thought I would like to do more of this. And so, I got really into it into my teens and my 20s. And I did a lot of writing. I did a lot of recording. I did a bunch of touring. And I did everything. I did all that stuff. So
was guitar like the thing that you absolutely wanted to learn first?
Yeah. I thought the guitar was probably the cool instrument to learn.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's always the coolest, the sexiest instrument.
My mother and my sister played the piano and beautifully, mind you, and but I was still inspired for the guitar because you could pick it up and leave with it.
Oh yeah,
portable.
Right.
Yeah.
Did they teach you how to play piano?
I learned on my own, but I don't really know how to play very well.
Oh.
I can play enough to write my songs. I would consider myself a very average player, but enough that I can record it, and write my songs.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Did they play piano for fun, or would your family like musical background?
My mother taught
wow.
full time, and my sister was, I think, forced to learn.
That's always great.
Very good at it.
Right.
Yeah. So I picked up a few things, but they were playing classical music. I couldn't. They had sheet music open in front of them. I can't read music.
I can't read music either.
Yeah. Do you play anything?
No. Well, I can remember. My mom can play the piano by ear because she took lessons when she was a kid, and then now she's got it. And when I was younger, she got me a keyboard and stuff. Can't read music, but I can memorize. Like if somebody shows me how to play a thing, I can, like, I've known it forever. So like Christmas songs are just in there for no reason.
On a piano?
Yeah, on a piano.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know how to read music, and I'm probably slow to learn it, but I can figure out like if somebody goes like, oh, it's these keys, this is how you play that. So if I can do the repetition, it's done.
All right.
Yeah.
Problem is everything sounds like chopsticks.
Well, there's probably a good 100 ways to play chopsticks.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That would be hilarious if every time I was like, guys, you want to hear Old King Wenceslas? And he was like, bum, 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 bum. And they're like, do we just pretend? Do we pretend? Yeah, it's great. I don't know why I chose Old King Wenceslas, by the way. But yeah, exactly. Like, get him away from the piano. Oh my God. That's great though. Yeah. The guitar is like the coolest instrument, I think. Obviously, I've never touched one or picked one up though. I can't do it.
Really? Yeah. You've never picked up a guitar ever in your life?
Never. Wow. No. I would love to.
You look like you could play a guitar, John. You look like the type of person that plays guitar.
I've said it a million times on the show. I do own a banjo because somebody gave me one, but I've YouTubed over the pandemic like some stuff on like how to do it. That is ridiculously hard to play. I don't know why anybody would give that to me. But I like string instruments. I like the banjo. I like The guitar stuff. I like the fiddle. I like hearing that kind of stuff in the background of music or whatever. So I think it's awesome when people can do that kind of stuff. But I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm musically inclined. I don't know. I want to be, but I'm not.
Right. Well, I mean, look, you tried, or you didn't actually. So
I did. It's like I'm not even going to give you the satisfaction of saying that. I think you tried. Yeah. So it's awesome. You started out doing that way. You mentioned the Beatles before? Did you have, what were your influences other than, Beatles? Obviously, I feel like everybody comes on here and mentions the Beatles, which I love because I just watched like 2 different documentaries that came out, and it just they still just blow me away. Like,
which ones did you watch? You watched the Get Back one, and what was the other one?
The other one that I watched was with oh God, what's his name? It's Paul McCartney and Rubin. What's the
Rick Rubin.
Rick Rubin, thank you. I was like, oh my God. But yeah, that one was awesome because I've never like seen it done where, they've got a soundboard in front of them, you know what I mean? And they're going back. Like that stuff blows me away because I've always wanted to see how they did it,
Right.
And I like that they went.
Sorry, I stepped on you. Go ahead.
No. I was gonna say I like that they went through older stuff and was like, what if it sounded like that? You know what I mean? Like that was cool.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's a little bit of that in Anthology if you ever watch that.
Oh, I've never seen that
one. They turn faders up and down, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that was on there," and they sort of go through it.
Wow.
The songs like "Tomorrow Never Knows," I think they go through, and a couple of other ones. Like the 3 of them and George Martin are sitting at the board, basically doing just that, and that's really
that's awesome.
Fully concur. That's very interesting stuff.
That is cool.
And the Get Back thing was cool too. I like that too. That was really
cool. That was incredible.
Beatles were a big influence, obviously. I was 10 years old when John Lennon was killed.
Wow.
At that time, I didn't really know who he was. I knew the music, but I hadn't associated it with him.
Sure.
And so there was nothing other than him in the news for a good 3 months, right?
Yeah.
And I was pretty impressionable, and I liked music. I had music in my house, and I had Beatles in my house, but it just became a point of fascination where this guy was a much bigger deal than certainly I ever kind of picked up on prior to, and that got me into a whole. I just became totally enthralled with Beatles, and then everything falls from there, right? Everything sort of trickles down from there. So I came upon Dylan, and I came upon Paul Simon, and I came upon and Genesis, and loved Genesis for a period. Older Genesis, and then really got into Tears for Fears for a while in the 80s, and liked a lot of Elvis Costello through that period. And then I liked there's a band called Super Furry Animals. I got really into UK kind of Brit-pop stuff.
Well, I don't know those.
Oh, Super Furry Animals are great.
I'll have to check them out.
Oh, they've got a great record called Rings Around the World.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's a good one. Write that down.
Yeah,
like
John, I got it on tape. Don't worry about it.
Do you have it?
No, I'm saying you have.
Yeah, we don't need to write it down. Yeah. Just send me this clip.
John's about to get up mid-show and find the pen. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Yeah. Guys, hang on. I got to get this down. I'll definitely check them out though. That's awesome. I love listening to the new stuff. Was it is there anybody that you kind of emulated in the beginning, do you think?
Yeah, well, people would tell me that I was sounding a lot like Beatles stuff, right? My stuff sounded like it, which is probably exactly what I was trying to do.
You're like, thank you.
Yeah. Now when I hear that, I don't like to hear it as much because I don't really want to sound like anybody else.
Right.
You can't help that to a certain point. It's your influences are just numerous and happen over, so many years. And you take in things that you don't even realize, are there until they start to come out in moments when you're creating things.
Yeah.
So I sort of look at everything from Beatles on down as all having influenced me over the years. And I think there's a little bit of everything that I've ever liked in what I try to do in any given sort of project. There's a little touch of something from somewhere. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first paid gig?
Uh, no, I actually don't. I think.
Wow.
Do you
Oh yeah,
really?
yeah. Mine was. It's not even. Mine was a mistake. Uh, I don't think I should have been, but I was doing stand up. I think it was in my first year, and within my first year doing it, and this woman was dabbling into it. You know, because a lot of people sometimes get into stand up or they take a class or something like that because they're like want to be better public speakers or they've got some other alternative thing. So they're not even interested necessarily in the stand up.
Right.
So she was doing a one woman show, like her own play, and taking it around to small theaters. She saw me at one of the gigs she was trying to do stand up at. I'd done well. She really liked me. And she was like, would you mind opening for the show? Like just coming to the theater and doing some stand up. And I was too young to know, young in stand up. I started when I was 20, but I was too young to know that that is not the place to be invited to do stand up.
Right.
So I was like, it was awesome. Like she gave me like 20 minutes to do it. I don't even think I had 20 minutes at the time.
Right.
But of course you're dumb and you're like, yes, absolutely. And she paid me pretty well. And and I get to the theater and it's like a very small theater or whatever, and it's just, older women. Uh not really my crowd at the
Right.
time. I don't even have a crowd necessarily, but it was still like it was still enough for me to know, like, oh, this is a mistake and whatever. But it was, yeah, she I got like $250, I think,
Oh, that's
and
pretty good.
it was
For a
good.
first gig.
And I took it. I did pretty well, but it was still very much like
I was waiting to hear you say you ate it for 19 minutes.
No,
Like you got the one laugh and then
didn't eat it, but it was like, because I could always, I could always handle myself pretty well in awkward situations on stage because I'm pretty, quick, but it was uncomfortable, like for me anyway. Like
Right.
I knew this was bad. I knew they knew that I knew, and I felt like this whole level of like, because I've never been casual about performing at a thing where I don't really care about how I do or what the booker thinks.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Except now because I'm, jaded. But you know what I'm like, oh, this is me. But for the most part, I was like, oh, I feel so bad. Like she liked me that one night, but it was in a comedy club in New York, and now I'm in a small theater in the middle of nowhere, and these older folks or whatever. So it was interesting, but a lot of fun. Good life lesson kind of a thing, and
I was gonna say,
she was very sweet. She wasn't mad at all. She was like, thank you so much, because she loved me. So she
right.
was like, that's exactly what I wanted, and I'm like, you're nuts. Because not what I wanted.
Well, look at Bill's character. I wish I could remember. I don't. I probably ended up having to like. Oh, I probably owed money the first night I was working. Probably how it worked
That's definitely a rite of passage as well.
out.
They're like, and that's something that your family never understands immediately. Where you're doing something, they're like, wait a minute, you're paying for stage time, and you're like, yes, isn't it great? And they're like, no, why don't you go back to the grocery
right.
store?
How much does it cost to enter this stupid fucking
Yeah, I can't believe you left Costco to do to do this.
That's
I
right.
don't know. How was that, by the way? Did your family like encourage you to do music stuff, or oh, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't push it, but they weren't discouraging it.
Yeah, was it so they weren't surprised by it?
No, not at all.
Oh, good.
I'd been musical from a young age, and they were fully behind it. You're talking about my parents.
Yes.
Yeah, they were fully. I mean, they didn't. So they sort of let me go. Like you're gonna do what you do.
Yeah.
And
I like how you said the parents thing, like you're like, because I have this one cousin that's a real son of a bitch, and he discouraged me every step of the way.
well, siblings, you never know. People can be on your case.
Yeah.
Whatever. I had pretty supportive family around me.
That's great, man. Yeah, the parent thing is always important to have, like, because I feel like if they say it's okay, it doesn't matter what the rest of your family fucking thinks.
That's true.
Yeah.
True.
Do you have a like a point in your career? Because I know, like you said, you've taken like time off, basically. What brought you back into it from the time that you had off? Like, what were you doing during that period of time? And also, what was the thing that made you go, oh, I have to get back in?
Well, I was still making music. I just wasn't putting it out, so anyone could hear it. I had young
Right.
kids. I wanted to start a family. I wanted kids. My wife wanted kids, and we
Mhm.
both checked that out. And that ended up taking up a lot of time,
Sure.
and I was playing and writing and sort of doing that for them a lot, and
Nice.
always dabbling in it, but not really sort of putting myself or it out there. I'd also been in like a few different bands with other people that I wasn't sure I wanted to go forward with. So
Mhm.
there was a lot of like, I don't know that I even wanted to, I had a lot of reservations about continuing. So it was sort of all put on hold, but I never stopped as a creative person making music. Like I was
Right.
doing that. I was always putting down demos at home. I was always fucking around and doing something, banging away on the piano, whatever it is.
Sure.
And then I guess, and then what also sort of turned me off at the time was that music sucked, right? A lot of what I was hearing, I mean, the stuff that I liked was considered obscure,
Okay.
and it wasn't being sort of, you know, um, played anywhere or celebrated in any which way, and we were having American Idol and
Oh my
all
God.
that fucking shit shoved down our throats all the time.
Right. What's
And
the other one?
it was,
American Idol and
well, now there's The Voice.
The
I don't know.
Voice. Yeah, where they
I
fucking
don't know
turn
what
around
it
in those
was
chairs.
20 years ago, whatever it was. I mean, it's or 15 years ago. It was just like this. The whole. I was just kind of turned off by so much of it, and
Sure.
also just preoccupied with wanting to, kind of be like try out a normal existence and have have my kids and sort of work on my family and do that. And then I started to really miss it. And my kids grew up and became more independent, and they didn't need me as much, and I wasn't as busy with them as I had been when they first came around. And so I felt like I wanted to get back into it, but even I didn't do anything about it until a few years after I started thinking like that. Right? It's like
Sure.
a few years of should I or should I, really invest myself in this? And do I want to put out, am I good enough to, I haven't written anything really that I like in a while. Like I had a lot to sort out before I could really commit to writing a full record and going to a studio and working with people and spending money and energy and time and doing all that. I wanted to do it, but it was sort of daunting because I hadn't for a while. So I had to wait, for a good few years.
Nice.
And I was talking to people and trying to figure out who I wanted to or who was available to me to work with. And that took some sorting out as well.
Yeah. What I'm getting from all of this is that it's your kids' fault. I'm just kidding.
Well, they know,
No, I'm just kidding.
They realize.
Yeah. They're like, they learn that's why I'm using them in a video.
That's right.
Full circle. That's awesome. So, there's a couple questions that we usually ask every guest before they leave. We got two. So I don't know if you've been pre-warned about it or not, but
I haven't.
Okay, great. That's perfect. That's what I like. I like to I like that the guest is surprised every time.
Right.
So one of the things I wanted to ask, first question is, if you go back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice that would help you today, what would it be?
Oh, I feel like I've been asked this one before and I had a really good answer for it, but now I'm blocked. So,
you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna find the really good one and then splice the two.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We do a retaping later.
That'd be great if it was something that completely contradicted your first good answer, and everyone was like, "He's full of shit."
Let me see if I can come up with something now. Don't get so worked up about, all the shit that you can't control in the world.
Oh, yeah.
I think, would tend to spend a lot of time sort of fixating and analyzing. And I think you just got to live life with it, right?
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
kind of like it's hard to, but you got to sort of put things off to the side sometimes and just go forward.
Yeah, no, I completely agree,
Be
man.
best, as she said.
Yeah.
Before you get to your last question, John, we just had a question from the audience. So
Sure.
a gentleman checking in from New Zealand said, "Is there a song you would like to do a cover of?"
Ooh.
Lots of songs I'd like to do a cover of. Good question. That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. Yeah.
Just kidding.
That should have been one of the last two. You're right.
I should have closed with it.
A cover of the Talking Heads song. Excuse me. It's not Once in a Lifetime. This Must Be the Place.
I was just thinking I was gonna say This Must Be the Place, but I wanted you to come to it. That's awesome, dude. I love that song.
Yeah, beautiful song. And I started working on a cover of that, which I didn't come.
Oh, dude.
I'd like to maybe do that one.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I love the story behind that too. Is that they all traded instruments.
I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
someone found that initial whatever hook.
Yeah.
They just kind of went on with that for like forever until
and it was cool because they really didn't know how to play like each other's stuff, but they were just like, let's just figure it out for this one song, and you can kind of tell because it has a different vibe and a different sound. So it's very unique. I love that song.
Yeah, it's a great track. I mean, it'd be hard to do a good cover of that, but I have heard actually a couple good covers of that song.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm sure you can knock it out of the park. And the last question. Unless New Zealand has another one. But is what had to end in your life in order for you to wind up where you are today? It could be good or bad.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure. What had to end in your life, good or bad, that led you to where you are today?
Jesus, that's a hard question.
Yeah. Take that, New Zealand.
What had to end in my life for me to become who I am today?
Yeah.
Jesus. Let's say next question.
He's like, this show.
Yeah. I was just thinking the same thing. I was like, oh God. That's great.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't come up with something.
Well, you know what? Now I'm gonna have to come back. Like I'm gonna have to bug you about it.
Yeah, please do, and then we can maybe insert it later.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I'd love to. No, because we're making a compilation of all these of everybody that's answered the question. So what I'm gonna do is just now in between every person's answer is gonna be you going, oh God, I don't.
No, in between each question should be next question, and then goes to the next person's cut, and then next question, next person's
cut. That would
be
so great. It's just John popping up every next question. Oh, dude, I love it.
Oh man.
Well, listen, man, thank you so much for coming on, and we're gonna plug the album and everything.
So good. Let's let them know one more time. Where can they check it out? The new video on Monday. Like, where's the best place?
Yeah,
to see
where's the best?
So it's premiering actually on Under the Radar. I'm glad you asked me that.
Fantastic.
The Radar is a music outlet online. I believe it's undertheradarr.com.
Yep.
I know that, but you guys can do that in post, right?
Absolutely.
It premieres on their site on the 13th. Although you're not airing this for another month. So,
yeah. Well, you know what? We'll take a clip out of it. We'll take. You know what I'll do? I don't know why I'm saying this on the air, but we'll. How I'm gonna edit it is we'll talk about the video. We'll cut that part out separately or whatever. Well, we'll do it that way.
So it's on. After that, it's everywhere you watch videos, I suppose, right?
Sweet. Check it out on YouTube. Get your Google on, guys. We're driving up in the Google rankings.
And you do have a YouTube page that you use, right?
I have a YouTube page, but I don't. I mean, it's like one of those generic URLs. So you got you search me, Jon Stancer. No H in John.
Right, Jon. You got the abbreviated version of my name. So
funny part is if I put in the H in John and search the album, it comes up with a lot of Bible stuff. Just as a heads up. So
really?
Yeah, I Googled it. I was way long time ago. I'm like, I said to John when we first did it, I'm like, Uh-oh, is this all Christian rock? Am I way off?
So I'm glad I clarified that then.
There you go. That was a good clarification.
Yeah,
Album's dropping, guys. Make sure you go out and pick it up, and make sure you support. Check out that video. Leave some comments on it too, so let them know what you think, so that we could get that traffic moving. Thank you so much, man, for coming out and hanging out with us today.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Sorry I couldn't answer all your questions.
No.
Oh, it's okay.
No, it's fine. That was a good response. I love that. You're like, fuck.
You know what's gonna happen? You're gonna call John at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're gonna be like, "That job I had in high school," and then just hang up.
Yeah. Who was that?
All right, thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yep, no problem, man. Take care.
Such a pleasure. We'll see you soon.
Yep.
Dystopia tonight.